Earthquakes, a natural disaster that's been mentioned a lot in the media recently. The 9.0 magnitude earthquake in Haiti was one of the most, if not the most, devastating natural disasters that's ever stricken the country. But what about Australia's history of earthquakes? Major earthquakes are fairly uncommon in Australia, and when they do occur, they are much less destructive than the incident in Haiti. But why is this? Well, it's not insane luck that's protecting Australia, it's science. Earthquakes are caused by a sudden outburst of built-up energy in the Earth's crust that produces seismic waves. The most common way this occurs is from tension between colliding faults or plates in the Earth's crust suddenly being released. As you may know, the Earth's crust is broken up into plates that float on the Earth's mantle, where activity due to convection currents of magma moves them. These plates, however, move in different directions, and as a result, they sometimes collide with each other. The collision doesn't just make them bounce off each other harmlessly, though. The plates are squeezed together, building massive amounts of potential energy. Eventually, one plate has to give way, either by traveling over, under, or beside the other plate. The stress that's been building up between the two plates over years is suddenly released, creating a seismic wave that causes the tremors and destruction that's associated with earthquakes. The magnitude or power of an earthquake depends on the energy stored and the type of fault the plates have. So, how does this relate to Australia's lack of earthquakes? Well, Australia doesn't lie on the boundary of any tectonic plates. We are at the center of the Australian plate. This means that earthquakes caused by striking faults and plates don't affect Australia. But there's one problem. How does Australia get earthquakes at all if we're not on a fault line? Earthquakes occur due to other factors too, some not even naturally occurring. Scientists believe that earthquakes can be caused by human activity, such as oil drilling, storing massive amounts of water in a dam, and coal mining. Coal mining is even believed to have triggered the 1989 Newcastle earthquake, but we'll get more into that later. Due to the fact that Australia's earthquakes aren't caused by easily trackable faults, it's difficult to identify the most earthquake-prone regions in Australia. In the past 50 years, Adelaide has had more medium-sized earthquakes than any other major city. South Australia, the state Adelaide is in, is being squeezed sideways at the rate of 0.1 millimeters every year. Scientists can't say for certain when an earthquake is going to occur. They can only monitor the movements of Australia's crust and look at the history of earthquakes in that region. According to movement statistics, currently the most earthquake-prone regions in Australia are the West Australian Wheatbelt and the Flinders Ranges in South Australia, but not by a significant amount. Now, all this information makes it seem as if Australia's never had a major earthquake, and that they've been insignificant in Australia's history of natural disasters. This isn't true. In 1989, a 5.6 magnitude earthquake struck Newcastle, causing the most fatalities out of any earthquake recorded in Australia. While not the biggest earthquake, it occurred in a very densely populated area at that time. There were a total of 13 fatalities, most of these due to the collapse of an unreinforced Newcastle Workers' Club building. 50,000 buildings in total, including residences, schools, and stores, were damaged, with the bill amassing to an estimated $4 billion. But that wasn't all. There were also consequences to the community and the environment from this earthquake. Many families without insurance were left homeless or with badly damaged property. There were many stories of insurance companies refusing to pay out, and who would blame them with insurance payouts accumulating to around $1 billion? Newcastle's environment was impacted when rain carrying runoff, such as debris and loose rubble, flowed into freshwater rivers and soil. Also, many natural resources, such as clay and wood, were required as building material to rebuild or replace collapsed structures. The journey to fix the damage inflicted by the earthquake was a big one, so it was fortunate for Newcastle that many groups, the government, and even everyday individuals came to their aid. In response to the disaster, the government took responsibility to help by sending forces such as firefighters, policemen, and rescue workers to the site. Rescue workers searched for the missing and presumed trapped, and without them, the death toll would certainly have risen to more than 13. Firefighters, along with rescue operations, subdued fires that were triggered by the quake. Police officers coordinated civilians who might have lost their home and didn't know what to do. Along with sending forces, the government sent out necessities, such as water, food, and emergency Medicare to the affected. Groups such as the New South Wales State Emergency Volunteers Association helped in the cleanup and treatment operations. Non-government organizations, similar to the modern-day Red Cross, fundraised money for victims and set up shelters where the homeless could stay. Media groups were extremely beneficial, as they spread awareness about the disaster and convinced people to donate or volunteer. And that's what many individuals did. Individuals took action to volunteer not only as rescue workers, but as assistants in homeless shelters and hospitals. They also spread awareness and encouraged other people to help. There was a huge response to the disaster,